So before we go anywhere, let's take a breath together. Inhaling through your nose and slowly exhaling. Good. So I want to start the series by clearing some things up because there is a version of inner work that gets talked about a lot, which is the dramatic version. The version where you have a massive breakthrough and your whole life transforms overnight, where you kill off your ego completely, where you become this enlightened, unshakable, perfectly regulated human being, someone who never gets triggered again. And if that's what you've been looking for, if that's what you think inner work is supposed to look like, I need to tell you something. That's not how it works. And chasing that version of transformation is probably one of the reasons you feel like you're failing. So this series is called The Inner Work, From Knowing to Living It. And it exists because there's a massive gap between understanding something and actually living it, between knowing what you need to do and your nervous system actually doing it, between having the awareness and feeling generally different in your daily life. If you're in the gap right now, frustrated, confused, wondering if you're doing it all wrong, then you're in the right place. So let's start with the thing no one wants to say out loud. Most people come to inner work expecting to become a different person. They expect that if they meditate enough, do enough breath work, read enough books, have enough breakthroughs, that they'll eventually arrive at some new version of themselves, calmer, clearer, completely healed, and totally transformed. Like they shed their old self entirely and step into someone brand new. And when that doesn't happen, when they still feel or still get anxious, when they still react, when they still feel like themselves, and they think that they're failing, they think that they're doing it wrong, they think maybe the inner work just doesn't work for them. But here's the truth. The inner work doesn't make you a different person. It makes you more aware of the version of yourself. So you're not shedding who you are. You're understanding who you are at a deeper level. You're not killing off your ego. You're learning to work with it. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to the who you actually are underneath all that conditioning. And that process, that real, honest process, looks nothing like what most people expect it to look like. So what does the real inner work actually look like? Not the Instagram version, not the retreat highlight reel, the actual day-to-day reality of it. It looks like noticing when you're anxious before you spiral into it. Noticing when you're about to say yes when you mean to say no. Noticing when your body tightens before your mind catches up. Just noticing, that's it. That's the work. It looks like sweating the small stuff a little bit less. Not never, not perfectly, just less than before. The thing that used to ruin your whole day now only bothers you for like an hour, then 30 minutes. Then you catch it happening and you let it go faster than you could have before. It looks like understanding other people differently. Someone gets angry at you and instead you immediately getting defensive or taking it personally, something in you pauses and you see it. You see their pattern. You understand that their reaction is about them and not about you. And you give them a break. Not because you're a pushover, because you've done enough work to recognize someone else when you see it. It looks like trusting yourself a little bit more than yesterday, making a decision without second guessing it for 3 days, listening to your body when it says something is off, choosing yourself in a small moment where before you would have chosen anyone else. It looks like less anxiety, not zero, but less. A slightly quieter nervous system, a slightly longer pause between a trigger and a reaction, a slightly steadier baseline. None of that is dramatic. None of that looks like a transformation montage. But all of it is real. All of it is progress. And all of it adds up over time to a life that feels fundamentally different from the inside out. Here's another thing I want to be honest about. This takes time. I know that's not what you want to hear. But we live in a world that promises transformation in 30 days. 10 steps to a new you, one retreat that changes everything. And yes, moments of insights happen quickly. Breakthroughs happen, things click, but the nervous system, the deep patterns, the conditioning that was laid down over years and decades, that takes time to shift. For some people, it starts to feel different in a few months. For others, it takes a year or more. And I can't tell you which one you are because I don't know yet. Because we are all so different. Because the depth of what you're carrying, the support you have around you, the consistency of your practice, it all affects the timeline. And anyone who gives you a great specific guarantee is not being honest with you. What I can tell you is this: if you are showing up, if you're practicing, if you are noticing, if you are returning to yourself again and again, when it feels like nothing is happening, something is happening. Even when you can't feel it yet, even when it looks exactly the same from the outside, something is shifting underneath. And it will surface in its own time, in its own way. I want to say something directly to the person watching this who has been doing the work and still feels like they're failing. You are not failing. You're in it. And being in it, staying with it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's slow, even when you can't see the progress, that is the work. The fact that you're frustrated means you care. The fact that you're still here means you haven't given up. The fact that you're noticing the patterns, even if you can't stop them yet, means your awareness is growing. That's not nothing, it's everything. Because awareness is where all the change begins. You cannot change what you cannot see. And you are starting to see. I know from my own experience that there were long stretches where I felt like nothing was moving, where I wondered if I was doing it right, where I looked around at my life and thought, shouldn't things look different by now? But looking back, I can see that it was happening in those long stretches. My nervous system was quietly rewiring. My patterns were slowly shifting. My relationship with myself was gradually deepening. None of that was visible, but all of it was real. Over the next several episodes, we are going to dive deep into the real experience of inner work. Not the highlight reel, the actual version. So we're going to talk about why you're still anxious even though you're doing the work. We're going to talk about what happens when you're taking in too much of the outside world, the news, family opinions, social media, and how that drowns your inner voice. We're going to talk about the moment when nothing feels like it's happening and what is actually going on underneath. We're going to talk about trusting yourself when every voice around you is telling you something different. And we're going to talk about how to know what's actually working, because the signs are there. You're just looking for the wrong ones. This series is for anyone who is doing the work and wondering if it's enough. It is. You are here, so keep going. So let me leave you with this. Inner work is not about becoming a different person. It's not about killing your ego. It's not about having a dramatic transformation. That makes you unrecognizable to everyone who knew you before. It's about becoming more yourself, more aware, more trusting of your own knowing, more able to pause before you react, more able to see other people's patterns without getting lost in them, more able to come back to yourself when you drift. That's it. That's the work. Quiet, subtle, unglamorous, completely life-changing. Not overnight, not in 30 days, but over time with consistency, with practice, with patience. Everything will begin to shift. And one day you'll look back and you'll realize how far you've actually come. I'll see you in the next video.